and I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat. They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, and everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks news pack for Monday, October 31st. Happy Halloween for those that celebrate or don't. You can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Tried something new. I'm going to try to do these news packs live just to see what happens. It's a daily news pack I'd like to do Monday to Friday to catch everyone up on the news of the day in hockey. We'll have our regular podcast schedule. Tomorrow is the Canucks podcast, pre-game ahead of the Canucks and the New Jersey Devils. And then Thursday, we're scheduled to do a podcast, probably pre-game ahead of the Flames and the Nashville Predators. So that's what's going on there. In terms of that, we'll start just with the kind of the weekend recap here, just from the Canucks perspective. We'll start with the Canucks here, then we'll get to the Flames. In a bit of some interesting news on the Flames lineup that in practice today that stirred up Flames Twitter. But the Canucks have now won 2 in a row. And as it was raining the last few weeks, a little bit of sun has come out, and the sun seems to come out a little bit here in Vancouver as well. A lot later, not as much of the heat going on after 7 losses in a row to begin the season. Feels a lot better here. Wasn't the greatest win in the world against the Seattle Kraken, but a win is a win and is a win and is a win. You're not going to take that away. But against Pittsburgh, they looked a lot better. Best effort of the year. Ilya Mikheyev is making a heck of a difference in that lineup right now. Now he's starting to get his legs under him, getting his footing together. Injured during the preseason. So 4 games into the year, 4 or 5 games early into the year, he's starting to get fit there. So that looks good. Of course, you had the acquisitions this week of Ethan Bear and Jack Studnicka. They're in the line, going to be around as well. So some new bodies in the lineup in Vancouver, a bit of a fresh attitude. You got a good goaltending performance out of Spencer Martin, which I think helps a lot as you go through this. You don't want to overplay Thatcher Demko as the season goes on. You need your backup here at least 25 times, I would say. And Spencer Martin, Bruce Boudreau said it at the end of Friday. He hasn't lost here in regulation since he's played him. So good opportunities there to use Spencer Martin in ways to help alleviate there. Brock Boeser sounds like he'll be a game time decision for the Canucks as they get at it, and they're against New Jersey. Some are surprised by a 6-3 start by the New Jersey Devils. I said that they were a playoff team, though, but I believe that they would be in the playoffs. So I am not as surprised as some are by the New Jersey Devils. But just looking at the lineup for the Canucks for practice today, and it looks like we've got Horvat, Garland, Miller, Pettersson, Mikheyev, Kuzmenko, Studnicka between Pearson and Hoglander, Amon, Podkolzin, Joshua, Brock Boeser, game time decision. Pairings, Myers and OEL, Hughes and Shen. So Quinn Hughes should be back in the lineup. It's assuming Tuesday to face his brother. Riley Stillman, Ethan Bear, Kyle Burrows, Jack Rathbone, Gilliam Breezeball sent down to Abbotsford today. So that's the lineup. That's the news in Vancouver here. They had a couple days off. They're back at it. They've got a busy week. You've got here for the Canucks. You've got 3 games this week as well. You've got the Devils tonight. You've got the Ducks. We'll get to them on Thursday as well. And then you have Nashville on Friday. So you've got an interesting week ahead of you. And the Canucks need to get themselves slowly back into that groove here. 2 wins in a row is good, but you're still off to a slow start, and you still got a hole that you need to dig out of. And so good news in Vancouver. Should be some news a little bit later today. They have they announced a press conference coming up. Not sure what it's about, so we'll keep an eye on that and discuss that at some point tomorrow. For the Flames, they played the Edmonton Oilers. They lost 3-2, came into the third period with the 2-1 lead, and puck rims around the boards. Markstrom doesn't quite play it, misplays it. It's a weird situation, kind of weird, but Connor McDavid flies off the bench, scores a goal. Markstrom came back and almost saved it. And then Zach Hyman scores 2. McDavid gets 3 points, and the Oilers come away with the 3-2 win. I thought it was just that whole hockey game, thought it was a really good game. Both teams, I thought, played really well. That's the type of game I like. Battles everywhere, low scoring, teams playing really good hockey. That's playoff type hockey. In October, we're talking playoff hockey, but that's the type of hockey I really think both teams want to play more of. I think that the insanity of the playoffs last year, while fun for fans, was not appealing for the teams. But good let's compliment the Oilers here. And let's start here with complimenting. I think Stuart Skinner is starting to come into his own. I sent out a tweet that I believe that Stuart Skinner is going to be the number 1 goaltender by midseason. And it wasn't a slam so much on Jack Campbell, which some people took it as an opportunity to kind of chuckle at the Oilers to have a $5 million backup. But just the evolution of who Stuart Skinner is. When I watch what the Oilers with Jack Campbell right now and what the Oilers with Stuart Skinner in front of them, they just look like a calmer team. They look a bit more composed. He faced 42 shots, and maybe you could argue that some of the shots weren't great shots, and maybe it looked a lot better than it was. But Skinner made a lot of saves look easy. Defense played well in front of him. And just that allows Connor McDavid to be Connor McDavid. And just, he will come in at that time and score the points that he needs. And just the Oilers look like a much more composed team. I was impressed with the Oilers on Saturday. I thought they played a really strong game. I think Skinner's given him something. I'm just going to say this, and some might laugh. I think we might be having a conversation about Leon Draisaitl in the Selke Trophy conversation. Much better all-round game. Starting to see that. He's playing in all situations. He's kind of reminding me a little bit of what Elias Lindholm was for the Flames last year, and the Elias Lindholm that we're hoping that the Flames get this year. So I think overall and Zach Hyman, what a difference you look where the Toronto Maple Leafs are right now, and that we'll touch on them in a little bit here, and where the Edmonton Oilers are now. I think the Leafs would love to have Zach Hyman back. They miss Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman plays hockey with a smile on his face. Like, it's hard to not say that he's not a positive influence on that Oiler lineup. You can argue about the contract, fine, whatever, but Hyman is making a difference in that dressing room, in that locker room, and the Oilers are better for it. So kudos to them. Flames, well, they went with new lineups at practice today. You had Kadri, so the lines were Kadri and Huberdeau and Mangiapane, which was a significant move one, and line two, Lindholm, Lucic, and Toffoli. So you had two new lineups, three new lines actually. So you got that, and and then you've got Backlund, Coleman, Dubé, Ruzicka, and Adam Ruzicka getting some fourth line work here as he is playing. He played with Lewis, lined with Richie and Lewis. Richie scoring again on Saturday. And Lucic has been a contributor. So, and then Rooney was the extra skater. So, like, is it ideal that Lindholm is playing with Lucic? No. Is this what's going to happen on Tuesday when they play the Kraken? I don't know. But certainly Lindholm, Huberdeau, and Toffoli isn't working the way that everybody wants it to work. So I think that is interesting. Daryl Sutter had some quotes today about Jonathan Huberdeau from Julian McKenzie, who's covering the Flames for The Athletic. I thought was interesting, talking about his points and what he said there. I thought was interesting, what was expected here. So far, I mean, there hasn't been a 5-on-5 goal from that line of Lindholm, Huberdeau, and Toffoli. So looking at the lineup here, or looking at the quote. Oh, sorry, that was from Wes Gilbertson, not Julian McKenzie. Sorry about that. But he talked about Sutter talked about Huberdeau scoring, and here's the quote. Jonathan is a really good 200-foot player. I think there has been way too much talk about goals and assists and points in last year and all that. It's so different. When it happens, it's like, okay, I got to score more. He's a good player. If he does everything else, then that's the result. But if you don't do everything else, you don't get the result. So instead of putting pressure on yourself to score or make the play, just play the game. That was an interesting quote. And I wonder if Nazem Kadri brings that out of Jonathan Huberdeau. I think one of the traps that Huberdeau got himself trapped into was who was going to lead in goals, and he said Elias Lindholm because I'm going to set him up. And I wonder if that kind of tripped him up a little bit in terms of putting himself too much pressure on scoring and not doing the other things. And I think with Kadri, he'll be able to do other things. And I think that Kadri and Huberdeau, I think, will be a good combination. Lucic on the second line, that's not ideal. Let's just say that for what it is. I like Milan Lucic. I think he does a lot of good things, but I don't think you want him with Lindholm and Toffoli. But that's what we're looking at right now. On one hand, you could argue that Lucic has played well, but top six forward, tough for me to agree with that. But that's where we're at. So the Flames this week, they got the Seattle Kraken tomorrow as well. So they've got a busy week here as well. You've got the Kraken, you've got the Predators on Thursday, and then you've got the New Jersey Devils on Saturday. So, and that wraps up that homestand that they started with early in the year. And I think they also need to get on the road. I think this long homestand can be a pro and a con, but I think to me, I need to see the road game, need to see some bonding, need to see some of those things as well. So that's where we're at with the Calgary Flames. That's where we're at with the Vancouver Canucks. And we'll look at the lineups here, and we'll start with the 3 stars of the week in the National Hockey League. And Connor McDavid leading the way here for the first star. Of course, he had the 3 points against the Flames, 8 points all week, 4 goals, 4 assists. And Oilers are now in second place to the Vegas Golden Knights, by the way. The Vegas Golden Knights are in first place in the Pacific Division. We all counted out the Vegas Golden Knights, but they're in first place. Of course, he did not score against Pittsburgh. That was ballyhooed, but he had a pretty strong week, St. Louis and in Chicago and in Calgary. He had a 3-point performance in Chicago, and then he set up Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with the win over on October 26th. So Connor McDavid, first star of the week. Second star of the week is Jesper Bratt of the New Jersey Devils. And the New Jersey Devils, I mentioned, I believed would be a playoff team this year. And a lot of people went, where are you getting goaltending? Well, I think at Lindy Ruff, you had Lindy Ruff and getting booed and chanted fire, and the Devils have turned it around. 7 points for Bratt, 1 game winning goal, 3-1 there. Now, if I told you that the New Jersey Devils were in first place in the Metropolitan Division, would you be shocked? Probably. Wouldn't expect that, but here's where we are. And I know it's early, but the New Jersey Devils are looking good. So good on him. 5 multi-point performances in 9 games this year for Jesper Bratt. So he's playing well. They beat the Colorado Avalanche 1-0 on the 28th. And a 3-point game in a 6-2 win against the Detroit Red Wings. Third star is a guy that I think another guy that I think a lot of people were wondering about it. That was Marc-Andre Fleury, the Minnesota Wild. The Wild as a team started off as really slow. If you remember, they played the Vancouver Canucks. Both of them were looking for their first win of the year, and the Wild got that first win of the year in overtime. He was 3-0, 1.95 goals against average, 921 save percentage. As the Wild are now 4-4-1. He has played 944 regular season games. He 26 saves against the Montreal Canadiens on the 25th. He turned aside 27 shots in a 4-2 win against the Ottawa Senators on the 27th, and 23 saves and a shootout win over the Chicago Blackhawks on the 30th. So he passed a couple players this week here. He passed Curtis Joseph as 6th place in and wins for NHL all-time list amongst goaltenders, and he won his 62nd career shootout, which passed against Chicago, which passed Henrik Lundqvist for the most in the league history. So Marc-Andre Fleury back in the saddle there, and the Wild are turning around. So the 3 stars again: Connor McDavid, number 1; Jesper Bratt, number 2; Marc-Andre Fleury, number 3. 3 games in the league tonight. We'll look at those here as late Monday night in the National Hockey League, but 3 games here. We will start in Carolina we will start in Buffalo as the Detroit Red Wings and the Buffalo Sabres are at it. 2 teams that I think that a lot of people are getting higher on here, as the Red Wings are 4-2-2, Sabres 5-3, and it's Alex Nedeljkovic starting in goal for the Red Wings expected tonight, and Eric Comrie, who's playing very well in Buffalo, starting in goal for the Sabres. You've also got in Carolina taking on the Washington Capitals, and Darcy Kemper getting the call in goal for the Capitals, who are 5-4. Hurricanes 5-2-1. Will be with Frederik Andersen. By the way, TJ Oshie injured now, adding to the pretty long list of injuries in Washington. Oshie, John Carlson, Nicholas Backstrom, Connor Brown, Carl Hagelin, Tom Wilson, all injured there for the Washington Capitals. And then you got the Los Angeles Kings heading to St. Louis to take on the Blues. Kings 5-5. They beat the Leafs on Saturday. Jonathan Quick getting the call in goal and for the Kings, and it looks like Jordan Binnington will get the call in goal for the St. Louis Blues. So just to kind of recap the week a little bit here. Of course, probably the news that has stirred the pot a little bit is another loss for the Toronto Maple Leafs against a lower-ranked team in the Anaheim Ducks. They lose this one in overtime. They were up 3-1. They got a couple of breaks, too. The Adam Henrique goal was called back for goalie interference. I'm having trouble seeing where goalie interference is. I think there's a lot of people feeling that way. But John Gibson makes a big save. The Leafs lose again. Mitch Marner is frustrated. Sheldon Keefe is asked about his job. So I think no question that Sheldon Keefe is on that hot seat in Toronto, as it is a hot seat. It's one of those markets like Vancouver. If you're winning things, the temperature goes down. If you're losing, the temperature comes up very clearly. And right now, the Leafs are just not looking good. They miss, I think, not only they miss Zach Hyman, I wonder how much they miss Ilya Mikheyev. They just don't seem to be as fast as they were last year. Their defense, I'm surprised that they didn't make a pitch for Ethan Bear or didn't end up with Ethan Bear, because they need to improve that deep blue line. I think their goaltending has been their goaltending. Samsonov has come in and done okay, but that team is just not looking the same right now. And the way that the Atlantic Division is going, I don't think you want to be in a wild card battle when it comes to that playoff chase. I think you want to be in the top three. I think the Leafs were expecting to be in the top three, but the Boston Bruins had different ideas. You've got Tampa and Florida with different ideas. Ottawa, Detroit, and Buffalo are better this year. The Leafs need to get this going. I mean, I know it's a 500 record, and I'm not going to press that huge panic button, but I wonder about wondering what's going on in Toronto. It's going to be very interesting. Look forward to converse with some point with Devin about what's going on in Toronto, but there seems to be a lot of holes in that lineup right now, for sure. Looking at a couple of other coaches I'm curious about. Maybe ridiculous. I'm just wondering. So the Buffalo Sabres come through Western Canada and they swept the Edmonton Oilers, Calgary Flames, and Vancouver Canucks. The Pittsburgh Penguins came through Western Canada and lost to the Edmonton Oilers, Calgary Flames, Vancouver Canucks, and Seattle Kraken, and didn't really look good doing it. They had a pretty intense practice between the time off between Calgary and Vancouver. I did not look good against Vancouver, and I know they're missing Jake Gensel. There is some injuries there as well. I wonder if about Mike Sullivan. I may be a little early here but I'm wondering about him. Wonder if this is a guy that we start seeing a little bit of a question on. He's been there for a while. They had the 3-1 series lead against the New York Rangers last playoff. I'm wondering, that looked a little bit to me like a team kind of not interested in what the coach had to say. That was my observation. I mean, they switched some lines around. I sent down Trey Kajula today. They had they switched Rust and Raquel in the lineups today, but it's more going on there in Pittsburgh. And I think the loss of John Marino as well in that trade. That defense doesn't look the same. Jeff Petrie looked fine. Chris Letang, Jeff Petrie. They're a bit older in a few places, and I'm wondering about Mike Sullivan. I'm just wondering about him. The other one that I'm curious about is in Columbus with Brad Larson. He signed Johnny Gaudreau. That's fine. But the Columbus Blue Jackets are off to a horrendous start. They got blasted by the New Jersey Devils yesterday, 7-1. Elvis Merzlikins said had an interesting quote. He knows he sucked. That's his words, but this is a team thing. They're not getting the goaltending that they want. They've allowed 44 goals in 10 games this year, 3-7, lost 3 in a row. He made one of the prize free agent acquisitions in Johnny Gaudreau. Maybe you needed to pick. You had switched Boone Jenner out for Jack Roslovic to play with Gaudreau and Laine. Eric Branson really struggling. You paid $4 million for him. Wondering what's going on in terms of a shakeup there in Columbus. And by the way, just back to Pittsburgh, they started off. They got off to a hot start, but they're 4-4-1 and sitting in 7th place in the Atlantic Division. So that's interesting there as well. So, and then you look at the Metropolitan, pardon me, not the Atlantic, the Metropolitan. And then you got the Leafs sitting in 7th place, by the way, in the Atlantic, 4-4-2, where, by the way, in the Atlantic, no one is under 500. Ottawa's in 8th at 4-4. So interesting there. Anyway, so that's that news. That covers pretty much some of the NHL. A couple of other injury notes here. We talked about TJ Oshie, Jamie Drysdale in the Anaheim Ducks. He is expected to be out for 4 to 6 months for the Anaheim Ducks. So already expecting to be. They're already starting in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. He got injured on Friday. He's out 4 to 6 weeks here. They end the regular season on April 13th against the Los Angeles Kings. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a stretch. It's going to be interesting to see how you handle a young defenseman as well, and how you want him to bring him back. If you're not in a playoff situation, do you bring him back in a situation like that? You let him just rehab for next year. That's a long way away. We just went for Jamie Drysdale. Well, that defense is going to be good, though. You've got Jamie Drysdale. You've got Olin Zellweger as well coming up as well. He's an up-and-comer. Still a lot of talent in Anaheim. Trevor Zegras, Mason McTavish, and they'll get a good pick if they finish low enough, whether it's Connor Bedard or not. So that's a good young team, but that's a huge loss for the Anaheim Ducks, Jamie Drysdale. Another huge loss, Jake Ottinger in Dallas. He is out at least 1 week. He got injured. Now, this is the fascinating situation, is they cannot call up Anton Khudobin, because he is because of cap. So so Ottinger got injured in the second period of their 6-3 loss of the Rangers on Saturday. So Jim Neal said they're going to comfortable with Scott Wedgwood. He's going to go here. They signed Matt Murray to a 1-year entry-level contract. He's likely Wedgwood's backup. That's not Matt Murray from the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's different Matt Murray. He's a 24-year-old who signed an AHL contract with Texas on July 18th. So Drysdale down. You've got Ottinger out. And Dallas has got off to a really good start, and Jake Ottinger has been a 3-star a couple times in the 3 stars of the week. So that is, don't know where they're at. They said they're comfortable with Wedgwood. We'll see how comfortable they truly are with Scott Wedgwood. Also, just wanted to talk about what happened in Arizona on Friday. We had Mullet Arena. You had literal mullets. They kind of did it up. 5,000 people. It was, nice to see a crowd at an Arizona Coyotes game. That's the first thing. It's been years of watching empty arenas in Arizona. It is nice to see that crowded. It's not ideal again, but I thought they did the best they could with the situation that they've been given in. So you've got Justin Roberts in to do the player introductions. He's the former ring announcer, WWE, current ring announcer, AEW, resident of Arizona. You did the mullets. You had a little bit of fun. You had the student section. Looks like a place that that could be fun for the fans in Arizona while everyone else cringes. It's going to be cringeworthy entertainment. They're going to have the referendum. We've got the vote in Tempe coming up here at the end of November about the arena situation. You've also got that they're going to put that in according to a referendum. No date has been given for that yet. So might be some changes there in terms of that. But we'll, for those, again, it's not ideal. It's a really rotten situation, but they made the best of a good situation. So, or made the best of a rotten situation. Didn't mind it. There we go. I mean, it's not like Arizona is going to be front and center in terms of our minds for the rest of the year, but good luck to them. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's just turn to the WHL. They have their player of the week. It is Connor Bedard. He was on Donnie and Dolly today. By the way, 8 points, 3 games, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points, 20 points leading the way. He had a 5-point effort on Sunday. Continues to play well. Regina is not going anywhere. They're in a playoff position right now. So I know that there's some rumors that might be traded. I'm not seeing that at this particular point. He has a 14-game point streak. He's going, he's doing his thing there. So that's Connor Bedard, player of the week. Goalie of the week is from the Calgary Hitmen. It is Braden Petrie. In 2 games, 1 goal against. He is a pair of victories. Shutout Friday against the Edmonton Oil Kings. Obvious rival for the Hitman, as well as yesterday getting a win as well over the. Well, let me confirm that before I do that. Getting played yesterday and beat the Vancouver Giants 3-2. So that's that. There are no games today. We've got 5 games tomorrow in the Western Hockey League. Always like to just check on the AHL and what's going on there for games here. What's going on there, and then we'll wrap that up. You've got player of the week is from the Ice Hogs. His David Gust. He is the player of the week. 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points in 2 games. Help the Ice Hogs get a pair of weekend victories. They snapped the 3-game losing streak on here and by beating Chicago 5-3, and then assisted on 2 of Ice Hogs 4 power play goals and an 8-2 win over visiting Belleville. So David Gust is the AHL player of the week, and no games today in the AHL. So that will be the news for today. Again, reminder, we've got the Canucks podcast scheduled for tomorrow. Sean and Tyler, Chris will be doing that. I will be back on Thursday joining it. We'll see who will be rounding up for the Flames podcast ahead of that. You can follow us all individually on Twitter. Sean Beardy Canuck 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Christian Schneid's SCHNEIDZ, Devin Gord Howe 09. I'm KVOLE. Shifts and Pucks YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and wherever subscriber of your get your audio, as well as in the Area 51 Sports Network. So this is the first live. Thanks for joining. We'll be doing this again tomorrow around the same time, around 1:15. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It'll be on podcast format as well. We will talk to you very soon. Bye for now.